千里之行，始于足下。老子。
The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Lao Tzu. You're listening to the GigabyteSpyder Podcast, where I talk about anything I feel like talking about. Today I'm going to talk about who I am, why I'm starting this podcast, and why you should stick around for what I have to say. Who am I? You sure you want to know? My name is Gabe. I'm in my mid-20s from the Salt Lake City area of Utah, and I love knowledge and learning, and memes, obviously. I hold a bachelor's degree in biology with a minor in geology from Rutgers University, and I always considered myself a jack-of-all-trades type, where my hobbies and interests come in cyclical waves, and they go all over the map. Once I find the inspiration, I'm always drawn to putting my best effort towards it at all times, in the name of self-expression and a desire to share my view with the world. Many of my interests include photography, bug catching, gaming, linguistics, biology, psychology, filmmaking, and so many others. This podcast is yet another project that I've always wanted to try, and now I finally have the means to produce it. So why am I starting this podcast? First of all, I want to be more comfortable with speaking to an audience. I've made YouTube videos before, but they've never met my personal standards. My audio delivery felt very unnatural and subpar, but it was still gratifying to work hard on video projects so that they finally get published. My videos can still be found on the channel GigabyteSpyder, but you'll find that my voice has changed significantly. My production quality was certainly not meeting the standards that I had envisioned at the time, so I remain unsatisfied with them. Here's a clip from one of my better videos. Thus, we very briefly uncovered the true biodiversity that birds encompass from having a body plan that is adaptable for almost every niche imaginable, inherited from a body plan that is inherently dinosaurian in origin, going through massive changes in their anatomy to accommodate the flight that they have perfected since the Jurassic period, amidst their non-avian dinosaur cousins, and all other tetrapods since the Mesozoic era. Now I have a clearer idea of how to intelligently take on projects for publication, instead of doing them spontaneously. This podcast format should allow me the space to share my perspective without needing to put as much mind-breaking effort into the presentation. I should therefore be more motivated more often to put content out there more regularly. This podcast project will also hopefully allow me to be more involved in the online communities that I'm a part of. Having deep discussions and sharing our experiences and knowledge together is like a drug to me. I've always wanted to connect with the people I respect and admire, as well as inspire others to find joy in sharing knowledge and making connections. A podcast format seems like the best way to do this when it's a lot easier to just produce audio files than full-on video productions. And lastly, I'm starting this podcast because I have a passion for knowledge, and just like being in love, when I learn about something fascinating, I want to share that fascination with others around me. Along with the YouTube channel, I updated a Facebook page all about evolutionary biology, because it remains my favorite science topic among others. I still have a bit of an audience with that page, due to shoutouts I've received from other Facebook groups and YouTube channels, but I still found trouble in staying motivated to post consistently. With every post, I wanted to present the most up-to-date and thorough bits of research in order to educate the public about understanding evolutionary theory and biology in general. My content on that page, as a result, was far more gratifying to me, but it also took a toll on my motivation to be consistent, because it would just require so much effort to produce every post. One can still find this page on Facebook as Here's the Evolution. It was originally made to counter a creationist pseudoscience page called Where's the Evolution, where I would deliberately correct these horrendously formatted memes in the name of education. Additionally, ever since I picked up photography, I've even accompanied all my wildlife photos on my Instagram profile with factoids about the animals I've photographed. You can check out and follow my Instagram through the link to description if you'd like. Ultimately, I'm trying out this podcast format to see if it works best as another way of spreading my passions like the plague, without requiring a huge ton of effort to produce the content on the regular. And now that I'm living on my own and taking a break from school, now would be a good time as any to get this started. So why should you listen to this podcast? You should listen to this podcast if you also love knowledge and sharing it with others. As the saying goes, knowledge is power, and there's really no telling what can be possible when we all put our brains together to expand upon what we currently know, and I want to help facilitate this. Like Socrates, I'm a huge proponent of open and honest discussion, because although limits should exist for civility's sake, no one learns anything if no one feels comfortable expressing their perspective and open to changing their minds. I promise I won't be as annoying as Socrates in AC Odyssey, though.
Have you decided what should be done?
If he needs the horse more than the man he stole it from, let him keep it. It will do him more good.
So, determining whether a crime deserves a consequence or reward is dependent on the reasons behind it? An intriguing thought, although I can see how dangerous such thinking might be.
The real question is whether my decision matters at all, or if this was just another test to see what I would do.
There is a good chance it is both, but an equally good chance it is neither.
Now you're not making sense on purpose.
You should also listen to this podcast if you'd like to be part of one or more communities that you may not normally participate in. As a result of having such a wide array of interests, I like to think I'm able to draw certain connections between ideas, and as such, I may offer a way to pique the interest of someone who may not have found interest before. Any of the following topics are things that I could easily share content about: evolutionary biology, photography, history, linguistics, culture, relationships, gaming, memes, politics, religion, philosophy, and film media. I also want to incorporate reactions and guest interviews with people in my personal life and online to not only bring exposure to them as professionals, but also as springboards for discussing all these topics and many more. I envision finding ways to connect all these topics in ways that may not have been discussed previously, although I highly doubt that I'm as groundbreaking as I might like to be. So let me wrap up this short episode by reiterating my goals: to get more comfortable with speaking to an audience, to be more involved with the communities that I'm a part of online and in person, and to share my passion for learning about anything and everything. And I hope you will join me. Thank you for listening to the very first episode of the GigabyteSpyder Podcast. If you liked what you heard, show it by hitting the like button and subscribe if you want to hear from me again. You can also find me on my Instagram, linked in the description. If you've resonated with anything I've said here, or have advice on how I can improve my podcast format, please let me know in the comments. I'll leave you with an excerpt about motivating oneself to keep moving towards your goals in spite of obstacles in your way, by one of my favorite photographers, Sean Tucker. His YouTube channel will be linked in the description.
So I'm not done. I know the journey is going to be a long one, and I know I'm making slow progress, but it's still progress. I just have to stay open to change when it comes, be ready to move to the next thing, and also to take the lessons I've learned along with me and not hate the stages before, reject them, but use them to build me along the way. Because I think the only way we survive is to constantly remind ourselves that the journey to mastery is a long one. It should be a long one. That we're setting our sights on a very distant horizon. And the journey is one stumbling step in front of another every day for a long, long time. And that's good and that's normal. And all we have to do along the way is stay honest and humble about where we're at, about how far we've come, and about the big distance we've got to go, and just keep moving in the right direction one day at a time. Greatness takes a great deal of time. I mean, I'm 10 years in full-time, 15 if you count freelancing, and I'm nowhere near greatness. But I know that I'm better than I was yesterday, and I'll be better again tomorrow. And the trick is just to keep moving, however slowly, in one direction towards your goal, one step after another. There's no substitute for time.